a train burst into flames after a derailment in the small town of 5,000 people in East Palestine, Ohio, or I believe it might be East Palestine.
That's
Not
how
sure how
people
they
seem to be
pronounce it.
saying it. Yeah.
Palestine, Palestine, whatever, free them both. It's an 150 car train, and it burst into 100-foot flames with all kinds of chemicals, including vinyl chloride and other things I can't pronounce. Something called phosgene, which is a toxic gas that can cause vomiting and breathing trouble. Obviously, the derailment created new gases. And here you can see a little bit of the footage from that explosion. There you go, right there. Just a fireball straight up in the air in this sleepy little town outside of Pittsburgh. And about 25 million Americans live within an oil train blast zone. I don't know if this one or just generally, like, in the United States, 25 million people live within an oil blast zone, an oil train blast zone. And let's see. Okay, more about what exactly happened. Might be. All the chemicals. 4.5 million tons of chemicals are shipped by rail each year. An average of 12,000 rail cars carrying hazardous materials pass through cities and towns each day. This is more broadly. Now, this region in particular is super ripe for these kinds of derailments because the Pittsburgh region alone has seen 8 train derailments over the last 5 years. It's a hub here. And there are about 1,700 annual derailments that occur nationally. The causes of the Pittsburgh accidents highlight the myriad of ways in which things can go wrong. A crack in a track ignored by rail companies caused a 2018 derailment, while another train hit a dump truck at a crossing with an inadequate safety equipment. A broken axle on a car train is thought to be the source of the East Palestine accident. So that is what happened. That axle broke. What's been the fallout? Residents have been told they should just open the doors and windows and air out their homes. They have not been offered another place
Open
to
your
stay.
doors and windows, so if there's anything gross outside, it could come right on in.
Yeah.
Get that
Let it
air in
all
your
in.
house.
Absolutely. They've not been provided with alternative housing or, let's say, bottled water or any kind of assistance. It's just like, I mean, there's only 5,000 of you. And ironically, y'all, I don't know if anyone heard of or saw the Netflix film White Noise. This White Noise is literally about the town of East Palestine, or a town very similar to it, to the point where they filmed there. They filmed this movie in East Palestine, and it is about a train derailment spilling toxic chemicals. So a little bit on the nose. People who were in the blast zone were actually extras on that film, and now it's all coming true. Yeah.
But if you would like to watch a good movie that is related to this this situation, I would recommend Dark Waters, which is also a movie about chemical destruction of our environment and using just being horrible, corporate chemical horribleness, and the way that it's covered up.
Dark Waters. Ooh, I need to see. So it's not a Noah Baumbach film.
It's not a Noah Baumbach film. No, it's a Mark Ruffalo and Todd Haynes. Yeah, it was about DuPont and all the Teflon cover up shit and all of the disgusting things that they did to animals and people by covering it up.
And I'm sure it stopped it, right? Once that film came out, DuPont was like,
yeah,
oh,
totally.
God.
Yeah, and similar chemicals too. Similar, like these poly chloro whatevers that like change also when they interact with water and with different things in our environment. So they can say like it's not that bad when it's inside of a train car, and then it becomes a completely different chemical once it's on fire and in the air and interacting with other atoms.
Yeah. I mean, so the fallout is something that we're going to get more information about. And this was over a week ago that this derailment happened. We're going to find out more about, people's livelihoods and lives, and maybe not even for months or years or decades. And we shall see. But I'm always curious about the political side to things, sadly, or whatever, because I have to say there's someone at fucking fault. Otherwise, I feel crazy. And when so-called tragedies like this happen over and over and over again, you probably are going to bet that there's some bullshit happening behind the scenes. And there, lo and behold, is. So it turns out that Northern Suffolk, which is the rail company, has been lobbying Congress consistently for years to refrain from putting regulations on their trains that are carrying these kinds of toxic chemicals, specifically regulations around their braking system. So let's learn more about that. This is an article from The Lever that did some great reporting. Norfolk Southern train derailment prompted emergency evacuations before this weekend's fiery derailment. The company the company helped kill a federal safety rule aimed at upgrading the rail industry's Civil War era braking systems. Let's talk about the old brakes. A vast majority of the nation's trains continue to rely on a braking system first developed in 1868. Trains equipped with these traditional air brakes, exactly, woo wee. They make emergency stops more slowly with higher rates of damage than the trains equipped with ECP brakes, according to both safety advocates and Federal Railroad Administration. So ECP brakes, while air brakes stop the trains individually as air pressure moves sequentially from one car to the next, ECP brakes operate using an electronic signal that can stop an entire train much faster. As one railroad insider told the Washington Post, and I love this quote, they told them anonymously, trains are like giant slinkies. When you have the back of the train running into the front of the train, they can actually push cars out because cause a derailment and cause a hell of a mess. So that's the brake technology. Now, why were they resistant? What happened? Well, amid a lobbying blitz against stronger transportation safety regulations, Norfolk Southern paid executives millions and spent billions on stock buybacks, all while the company shed thousands of employees despite warnings that understaffing is intensifying safety risks. Norfolk Southern officials also fought off a shareholder initiative that could have required companies to assess, review, and mitigate risks of hazardous material transportation. So that's from their own shareholders, and that's what they were doing around what they ultimately did, which was lobby regulators in government to kill provisions requiring rail cars carrying hazardous flammable materials to be equipped with those ECPs, those electronic braking systems, to stop trains more quickly than conventional air brakes. Norfolk Southern had previously touted the new technology, known as ECP brakes, for its potential to reduce train stopping distances as much as 60% over conventional air brake systems. So we're going to just talk about the fact that we can do this. We're going to tout it, roll it out, but we're not going to actually invest in putting those brakes on our trains, nor upgrading any of the railways, and also at the same time shedding employees and being one of the few rail barons right now that has been actively lobbying Congress to also preemptively break the strikes of rail workers. And it happened just before fucking Christmas. And this is exactly what those rail workers have been saying, which is like, yo, corners are being cut. I mean, yes, I don't have any paid sick leave, so I'm operating these trains with toxic chemicals with a flu or COVID or whatever, but also more broadly, it's very unsafe.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially like when you said I look for the political thing. Like for me, I feel like I tend to look for the what is the labor issue happening here?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's no coincidence that this happened right after this strike got broke, which happened within months of all of this airline shit with like Southwest and everything. All of these industries were getting so the people at the top need to be making so much more money than the people at the bottom, that were getting fewer and fewer employees. And it becomes this message of like, well, if we spent more money on making things safer and on hiring more people and giving people enough time to rest, we would have to charge people more because we couldn't make as much money for who? For the people at the top who need to be making more. I think that there needs to be like a percentage cap on how much more the heads of corporations can be making than the least paid employee.
Absolutely.
Like you can't do that. And once again, the way that I feel like this is being discussed in the media, it's already becoming part of this football game of like, whose fault is it? Is it the right or the left? Is it Pete Buttigieg's fault or not?
Right.
When like these are things that would make everybody safe. Making sure that the railroads are safe helps everybody. It should not be a political like battle. It should just be
Mhm.
like, how do we
But
to
this
me
is,
the
I
whole
mean, this
point of
is late
having
stage capitalism. This is
yeah, there's
everyone.
no point to our country anymore. I
No,
think the whole point of having a country is culling our resources so that we can distribute them well enough that we all get to be safe and healthy. And that is absolutely not what's happening anymore. It's
yeah.
like, what's the point of having the country? What
No,
are we
and
doing here?
arguably this is what libertarians will say. They're like, "Well, we don't need a country because Norfolk Southern is going to go down because this is going to look real bad on their record, and then no one's going to buy from them."
Just like BP went down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Remember that
Like,
spill?
that's
No
not what
one ever heard of them. It's
happens.
like, what the fuck are you talking? Exactly. No, we are run by corporations. They run roughshod over our lives. They do whatever they want with them. And that fix you just mentioned is such a brilliant fix. You don't have to talk about dollars. You don't have to talk about wage. You just say you can't make more than, 5 times as much as, or 10 times as much. What is it now? It's like 80 times as much.
At least. And if you
Right.
have like, if you're so greedy and you're like, I want my company making more and more money, fine, great. You spend that on benefits that will benefit everybody there.
Yeah.
You want to buy a jet ski? How about everybody gets their percentage of a jet ski? I don't know. Okay. I'm a
Sure.
comedian, but I'm just saying there has to be a way to like protect and benefit everybody. It's,
Absolutely. No,
I don't know. I almost,
it's a broken contract. I mean, what you're
yeah.
speaking to is the fact that there is no benefit to living in this country or like anymore. When we are constantly being told that like this is the price, your contaminated water, your children with cancer, that's the price for freedom.
I'm
Uh,
almost on the verge of feeling bad for billionaires because I'm like, you're just evil monster people now.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. You
if
need
your
saving.
brains are rotten. It's
Yeah.
it's like we've become Skeksis and whatever those other creatures are in the Black Crystal where the
Yeah.
creatures split into like good and evil. Like
Ooh. I
yeah.
got to go back and watch that. But I want to shout out Urban Hermit on Patreon who's watching and says a broken axle is a convenient alibi for an antiquated brake system. Perfect. Exactly. The Megantic Quebec derailment 10 years ago destroyed half a town with 74 deaths. I mean, again, like it's just trying not to die in this country. That's all
Well,
we
and
do is just like, hey, could I not die in mass shooting, train derailment, toxic chemicals?
we've
Um,
also long never valued our railways. Like as soon as the highway systems took over, it was like good luck getting people to care about investing money and time and safety in the railways because that's not our main mode of transportation or even and even though we use it to get goods around, people don't think about it.
no, right. Exactly. All right. Well,
Sorry.
no. We'll continue to follow the story, obviously, but I think it's super important, and a lot of mainstream outlets are not covering it because it's, but it's such a juicy story if you cover it from these angles. If you cover it from the labor angle and you cover it from the political corruption angle, in my opinion, it's not just a tragedy that sort of ends and begins and ends. There is a lot more to it, but they won't because it's sort of the heat comes down on Biden. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do it.